Yo, yo, yo. Dang. What's up, man? What is up? Nova Matt. Batar, what's up? All right. Joe, Professor, what is up, man? Nikos. Tramadol. All right. AMC up 26% for the day. Initially, we had a pretty nice pump here. Okay, but we fell down with what could have been potentially the Adam Aaron letter. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it all. I think this is great. Not the dump here, unfortunately. I don't think that's great. But I think the macro setup and everything that we're going to be looking forward to in the future, I think it's all playing out according to plan. I was expecting this. I was expecting a pump and dump kind of a setup with with what the cycle is tracking now. I'm not talking about the 62-day cycle. If you guys watched the video that I posted yesterday, it basically goes over this, that there is a possibility that right now we're not tracking that specific cycle anymore. The cycle that I'm going to be tracking in the future based on what just happened might be actually shifted about a month. The 2-month cycle is still something that happens in the entire market, and they're split up a little bit differently with stocks. Some of them track a 4-month, some of them track a 3-month. This all has to do with options at the end of the day. With AMC, with the correlation that we tracked previously, it seems like the cycle might have stopped tracking in December of 2022. And this is just based on just gathering as much information as we can with what's been happening over the last year, or over this past year. So this right here, and this is why it could mean two potential things, right? But this right here could be like an error spike in the cycle, where you have, so because you do have to think, like, why was there a catalyst? Okay, why was there a catalyst right here on the court news, which is obviously something that's bullish? I think a lot of people could see it as, the court catalyst that AMC had here previously. If you're not going to dilute the stock in the short term, that is going to be something that is more bullish than not. And again, I'm not going to get too into what my beliefs are with the stock and offerings and stuff like that, even though they have triggered in the past before. Not in the short term, but in the mid to long term, they do trigger what has been shown to be a run up. So that's the catalyst right here. And then we have Adam Aaron basically shortly after the catalyst. He releases the letter, and then everything starts to dump, right? So the way the events are set up here, this is a clear pump and dump, right? But that doesn't mean that it's over and then we're going to start going down. I don't think that at all, because you go back, again, the video that I posted yesterday talks about this. We have our little map here. This is what I used to talk about this whole thing, and then before we started to dump today, this is what I gathered, right? We had the same thing happen in November. A lot of the market right now is tracking this part of the cycle, which is Okay, which is pretty big stuff. A lot of cryptocurrencies are doing what happened right here. So it's relevant to study and track what is going on. Look at this. AMC pumps and dumps, and then it starts climbing back up again. I see that happening in the short term. I see AMC climbing back up to around that $7 to $8 range in a matter of a week or two. But you have to look at it in the way the catalysts are set up here. So we have a bullish catalyst. That's the Pfizer news back in November. So basically cleared movie theaters to start showing after what happened here in the pandemic. Everybody starts going back to the movies, right? And then right after that, we have an offering. So it's a pump and dump. It's basically the same thing that we have going on now, except the offering here was a clear offering, right? Right now we have a potential offering on the table because that's what Adam Aaron still wants, even though the court has not officially ruled. It was basically speculation saying it's not fair, but nothing. It has been really the case is not over yet. So that's why this whole thing that's going on right now, it's all speculation because it's just court news, but nothing is set in stone. So now you have the equivalent of the offering is basically the Adam Aaron letter. It's just a catalyst, right? That's the equivalent to it. Here's the potential offering that I think is probably going to happen just because, I mean, like, if we're already expecting it, if something happens here with the court, if there is an offering, then that's most likely going to at least stall or bring the price down in the mid to short term. But because we're starting to see AMC climb already, and this is a very important level here for AMC. Like I said, this is the right direction that we need to start heading. Go back up, and this is a big step. Okay, AMC is still up 27% today, so that's still pretty huge. Even though it came down, it's still up 27%. Okay, so we come back to November. All right, and then we take our little pattern section here. Now, I'm not tracking this one-to-one at all. I just want to show you guys how this could end up playing out in the short term. So say, and I'm going to talk about some of the other stocks that I did not talk about on the last video. So I did some research, and I found a few other stocks that have, because, like, guys, like, at the end of the day, if you're going to have a stock like AMC pump and dump, like, you have the entire market pump and dump for years, like, the way I see it is, like, you have phases in the market where this happens with other stocks in the market, and that's why you can use that as reference to the current chart. So we had this happen before with Mara, with Riot. We had it happen with Tilray. All of the cannabis stocks, they did this before back over here in 2020. I want to show you guys something. Okay, we have Tilray. Watch this. Tilray goes from, in 2018, it goes from $23 to $300. Now, obviously, this stock has already gone through, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of. No, okay, no split. So, hasn't had a split. So it goes from 23 to 300, and then it comes back down. How long does it come back down for before going back up? About 870 days. 875 days that it comes up and then it comes back down, right? Okay, so for AMC, we have something similar, not quite the same, but look at this. 875 wouldn't be till October. But what happens right before that? Like, you start to see the chart, it starts to change. The direction starts to change. Okay? So I've already overlaid this chart on top. Let's see where it is. It's got to be here somewhere. Yep, it's this one right here. And this is not the only one that has shown this. Like, we have it on Mara as well. And Mara's actually looks a little bit better. This is not scaled properly. Supposed to be right here. And you can see what happens right away. It's like, do you see this like first initial pump? It gets rejected immediately. And you know what the craziest part is here? You want to know what the craziest part is? I'm not even going to look at it like this. We're going to do it 1-to-1. This is why I think AMC is in this, like, we can be tracking November time here for AMC. Because this happened in November of 2020. That pump and dump that you're looking at here on Tilray happened in 2020. So if you're looking at the time frame here, it's like AMC is what like Tilray was doing back here in September of 2018. It dumps for almost 900 days, and then on that 785th day, it pumps and dumps. Okay, what does AMC do around that same time? Right now, 783 days, it pumps and dumps. Okay, so this is what I'm saying, dude. And this was something I didn't cover on the video that I posted yesterday, but it's just one of the stocks, just literally one of them, bro. I can pull up Mara as well. Mara does something similar. That's the way these stocks cycle. It's like they pump and dump for a really long time, and then you have that like one catalyst, whatever happens prior to the larger run-up, which at this point, AMC can go higher if that's the case. I mean, Tilray here didn't have the same people backing it up the same way, but we can track the structure the same way, in my opinion. So that's something I'm tracking here. And just with the catalyst and the way everything's lining up here, it seems to me like this is the most likely scenario if we are going to start heading back up here in the mid to short term. Now, the difference between the current cycle and this one is they are about a month apart, which again goes back to the whole thing where why we've had all of the what we call the points of interest. And if you guys are not familiar, like if you're new to the channel and you don't know what I'm talking about, I had a few watch the video yesterday and they're like, yo, like, what is this? Like, what are you talking about? Go watch the first video I ever posted on AMC, and it talks about the AMC cycle in the form of a song. So go check that out. And then once you get caught up, it's a lot. This will make a lot more sense. All right, so back to this whole thing again, right? We have the catalyst here looking very similar to it. Now it's not gonna look the same. I don't think we're gonna have the same structure that we saw back here in November, but I do think that some of the other stocks that I just pulled up, like Tilray, you can see it comes up and then it starts coming down and then it starts riding back up. So in this case, I think we might see just maybe a more bullish setup than the one that we saw back here, because this one was pretty much just flat and bearish, and I think because we had GME go up and all these other stocks in the market, everything started to pump. We had that mini squeeze. So I think this is going to look a little different. I don't think we're going to quite come down to those levels, but I do think that the price might stall a bit, maybe a few weeks, and then we're going to start to see that just kick off and go, right? Because, like, guys, you have to remember, like, we have a bullish catalyst, and then now we do have a bearish one. AA letter is not a bullish catalyst. So that's naturally going to bring the price down, but these guys are going to do their They're going to try extremely hard to just make everybody here second guess themselves. I mean, that's what they're doing now. I'm gonna tell you guys what I think is going to happen here in the next few days, based on what I know, how these guys manipulate stocks. But look at this, okay? Another one that we can compare right now that follows a similar cycle. Okay, we have Virgin Galactic Holdings. Okay. Where did this guy just pump and dump? How long ago? Right here. June 15th. Pump, dump, starts going back up, and then it dumps again. Okay. So what happened in November of 2020, the same thing. It was extended a little bit, but it was the same thing. It goes up like this, comes back up, and then it starts climbing back down. Okay. A lot of stocks are doing this. A lot of cryptocurrencies are doing this right now. Depending on where you are in the algorithm is going to control this the same way with basically the entire market, just in different sections and different little time frames here. Okay, pump, dump, starts climbing back up. So expect this in the next few days, actually. If we go on the daily chart, this thing, like, completely gets rejected back up. We got a massive red candle. It opens green, massive red candle down, and then the next day we have another bullish green candle. Basically cancels everything that happened the day prior. So for AMC, depending on how we close today, things might look a little bit different, but I do see us at being around this range here for the rest of the week, regardless of where the price goes. I don't know if we're gonna get a pump and dump here right away. I think we're gonna stay around this range, and what these guys are gonna try really hard to do is IV crush the option chain, because that's what they're doing over here, guys. It's really messed up how they do it, but like, just think about it. They have the catalyst come out in the after-hour session. Why not during the intraday session, right? They have it come out in the after-hour session where they can just pump this thing in 10 minutes, and the market opens. AMC starts climbing down. 8% halt, right? 8% halt. So that's why, man. That's why that is just the way things work. But this is good news in the long term. You let IV dry out a little bit, and I think it just becomes an opportunity, in my opinion. That's how I'm looking at it. I think it's going to take some time, but I think this is bullish in the mid to long term. I think it's very bullish. And what I mean by stagnant, man, is not like we're gonna be flat here or anything. Like, there's a lot of volatility on AMC right now, like extreme volatility. But like, remaining in this sort of channel here is because we got to look at the daily chart, right? Remaining inside what could be this little channel. Yes, a lot of volatility from 4 to 6. I mean, that's crazy. But like I said, like, we've seen these other stocks do it, where it comes up, it kind of trades in that channel for a bit. Now that they brought the price down to the levels that they did, it's going to be a little bit harder for it to start pumping back up. Just the way I've seen things play out in the past before, like that, if we're going to have something pump just like out of nowhere, this thing just starts to pump 100%, and then it comes down basically to neutral levels, like back here. It's like if the stock had pumped what, about 12%. We were basically up 12% at this point here at 850, and then it starts to pump again. So and like I said, I expect this to climb back up. I expect this to climb back up to maybe around the 750 range, or maybe yeah, somewhere in that range. I expect it to climb back up. Maybe not today, but in the next few days to weeks, I expect it to do that. And then once that, once we come up to that level, something might happen with the court, or Adam Aaron says something that it might not be the most bullish thing. Now, this is just looking at the cycle, guys. I mean, it's looking at the cycle that we know, the cycle, little time period that we have right here. It's just comparing that. Not only that, right? But we also have the technicals that we look at. One of the things I pulled up yesterday, was the quad witching curve, which goes with this as well. Because if we're gonna hedge for this level here, which is around the $9 to $10 range, using the quad witching trend and then the parallel channel, that means that we would come up here. This is just a macro version. This entire thing right here is just a macro version of what's going on down here. So if we're going to come back in this range by September, and they're going to hedge for those positions, that means that the price is probably going to keep going on the 6 hour here. Okay. Are you guys seeing this? Like, watch. Immediately, we come up to this range. We've already talked about how if we're basically tracking the same cycle that we have over here in January, right? Not to the same extent to where we come up to this range, but the catalyst, the way they're being brought up, is a little bit more, correlates a little bit more with the November cycle, even though things are lining up a little bit better in January. So I think that it makes sense that AMC does something like this and then starts climbing up. We hedge, we come up to that $9 range in September. And at this point, it's going to be a lot easier to reach and come up all the way up to these levels back here. Now, if we take the fractal version of this, which is just extending this entire thing, making it bigger, like that, would be something like this, maybe. So it's not one-to-one, obviously, but you can see that as soon as AMC comes into this channel, the support channel, that is where I'm expecting to repeat what happened back here. It comes into that channel and blows through the support, the parallel, and the volatility zone. And that's been the target this whole time. We've talked about the $30 range being like a major target here. Because, we zoomed out, we saw the chart, and it looks to be what could be a pennant in the making. And if it breaks, if the threshold breaks there and the algorithm can't stop that, then we can see much higher levels, like extreme levels that we haven't seen before. But these are just technicals. We're just looking at technicals here and looking at it based on that. Go to the 3-day, kind of see the projection here, right? Comes up to that, and now you are in a massive pennant. This is like scenario one. The other scenario would be that this is wave one in Elliott wave, impulse wave, and then you have wave 3, which is your biggest one, and that would be, so this is wave 1. This actually looks really good on the chart, but this would be the other scenario, right? We have something like this play out. Now, this is just, these are not levels based on fibs or anything like that. I'm just showing you guys what could potentially happen if we do break like this little imaginary descending resistance trend line, which, well, it's not really imaginary. I mean, you're looking at a horizontal resistance right here at 27. So if we break 27 and this does not come down and just keeps going, this thing has the potential to keep climbing up and squeeze, right? So that's going to be the major test here, is breaking these technical levels. Yeah, and let's see. So I'll show you guys. I'll show you like 3 different cryptos, because I track a lot of cryptocurrencies that do stuff like this, like try and understand the patterns that are currently playing out in this time frame, because they are very relevant to the meme stocks, like extremely relevant. But let's do 3. Let's pull up 3 that I know of so far. What are we gonna use? Oh, let's do 2. All right, so we're gonna use one called Reef, and we're gonna do the other one is Mina, and we're gonna take a look at both. Mina. Nope. When did it do this? I think it was here. Here we go. Boom. Right here. There's one, and then Reef just did it yesterday. Very like. Actually, no, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was. There we go. There we go. Okay. You guys see both of these, how they're pump and dumps? So this is what we're looking at here. Now for AMC, well, we got to go and zoom out a little bit. Do it like that. There's AMC. Here's Mina, and here's MDT. We're going to be looking at all of these here today and talk about what happens when this happens, right? So there's the fake out, the initial fake out, which we know AMC loves to do. It's just there's always some kind of fake out. So it's like it pumps, and then people end up selling right here because it's already down, so much. And then what happens is the price starts to surge back up. It comes up to resistance, and then people are like, well, we got to buy again now because it just came back up and touched resistance. So why do I think we're in November of 2020? I'm going to give you guys a little scenario here, because that is essentially what happened. look at it like this. It might be extended. I'm not paying attention to anything back here yet because I just want to show you guys what all these other ones are doing right now. So Mina, for example, this one happened very quickly, but you can see it pumps up, comes all the way back down, and here we can actually look at a lot of similarities with AMC's current chart if we go on the micro, like the 2. See how it like makes a little arc setup in the beginning, rides all the way back down, and then it just starts climbing up. It just keeps going up and creates, you know, basically the same thing that we're expecting here, which is just more upside, comes up to resistance. Then, you know, so people end up selling out. The price starts to climb all the way back up to that 860 level. And then here, people are going to start buying again, or retail can start buying again. And then the price ends up coming back down. And it's just a fake out. It's just a constant fake out. So what this does is that it makes everybody just like, they're just tired at this point, because this is just fake out after fake out after fake out. The price ends up coming down again, not looking to see any low levels like we're looking at here. In fact, I should probably be looking at Tilray's chart, because I think that's the one that's a little bit more relevant to this thing. But here, for example, Tilray's chart doesn't quite come down the same way. It will be using this here. It comes down, and then it essentially will come back up. But say it does maybe something like this, right? Where it comes back up and then creates something like this. I think that would be more ideal. Hide that. So all of these are doing that. Pump, dump, comes back up, and then it dumps again. Pump, dump, comes back up, and then it dumps again. When it dumps, though, that is where I would see this just continue to rise after that, because like, this is just an example, and we're just taking a look at this, at each of these sequences in different cycles. But once they either choose downside or upside, again, we consider that to be a volatility zone. So at that point, it could be a continuation or it could be a dump. Why I think we're heading the right direction. I mean, we're heading the right direction regardless of what happens in the short term, I think. Right? Okay. Let me look at AMC plus 8. Let's see. Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna ignore the here's copy pat or copy pat with spots. I like this on the 30-minute. See 15. Well, 15 would be a cross and then a continuation. We're at resistance right now. All right, let's do some projections. I'm gonna see. I always use the little ghost feed here. But I'm gonna pull up maybe a couple of projections on what I think could play out here in the net. So I'm gonna do a bullish one and then a bearish one, based on this. So if we have a cross, we probably have a little bit of resistance here coming out to the pink curve. But then if it's a clear cross, then we would have a continuation, right? So I like to play around with this because it just gives me a better perspective. Kind of like copypat. That's what copypat's supposed to do. It's supposed to just help, man. Help with that analysis. Copypat. I think this is too high. Came up here, that would be a clear cross and then potentially a retest back down at resistance with a continuation. All right, let's just get some scenarios here. Okay, wait. Market closes right here, so all right, let's try this again, but let's try it on the 1 minute. So I love doing this. I just get myself a little time. Give myself a little time at open. So we have open, close. So this is what we're working with right now. Open. Made these too big. Okay, and with resistance trend lines, I like to follow the spots curve because it smooths things out and it gets rid of these volatility wicks or candles, which are relevant, but you want to give yourself still a nice gap. So I use a parallel channel actually for that. What am I doing? we go parallel channel. Volatility. Give some room for volatility. This is going to be our break channel, so we need to break this for a continuation. And then obviously we have some support as well. Right there. Now we can start drawing our projection. Okay. So you have resistance at around the 620 coming up here. Okay, so potential test. I'm going to say something like this. And then come back down to 580, potential 580 range. If we break that, I'm gonna do like a bullish one first, and then I'll do a bearish one here. But this thing it's so goofy how this thing works. All right, so we're coming up to 6 now. We have more volume coming in. Okay, we're up 37% from 4. Yeah, this thing is pumping, man. Pump, here it is, 26%, 23% from the bottom. We have a very large candle. Let's make these a different color. Let's make it blue and orange. There we go. That way we can tell them apart a little bit. All right, that's scenario 1. So around the 560 range, we have a little liquidity grab. Sometimes the price likes to gravitate back. Even just looking at the short term, like historical levels, that would be a zone. And then this would be a zone back here as well. So this one. Um, how are we doing? We're currently following this projection here. So if we're gonna come up, resistance will be at 623. And at that point, if the price comes down, these are just considered. These suck, guys. These little zones. Look, I'm gonna show you something that I look at when it comes to trading options and stuff, because this is like it's how these guys collect all your freaking premiums, man. And this applies more to the shorter term contracts. So these little phases where the price just like trades sideways down, especially for calls, this is like your enemy. Okay, because this is the theta kill. Slowly just kills the contract value and also affects volatility. So premium will come down after it was extremely high at open. So even down here, the calls were still pretty expensive. GME is moving too. Let's see. Bring our buddy GME over. Yeah, but GME didn't move that much, and it gave up all its gains here. Pre-market as well. All right, so this other indicator I'm using here is called levels, and basically what this is doing is it's giving me the high and lows of a specific range. That way I can track it and not it just helps. It helps with the overall structure. You can kind of see the pattern if you change the range here. So if I go to like 50 or something, sometimes it's really good at giving you a perspective of what maybe the 5 or 10 or 15 minute candles would look like. So this is really good for like day trading and stuff. Really nice range here. I can see that support is currently at right around that 550 range. Okay, that's support, and we're steadily climbing here though. We're trying to break new highs here for the day. We're currently still pretty green. Let's see what the daily chart looks like real quick. We probably just made a little bit of green. Yep, we're coming back to that green range. It's good. And then again, we have resistance at 613 on the daily chart. We've already crossed these major levels at 8, right around 850 is where we got rejected. Oop. Guys, if you're new to the channel, I welcome you to subscribe and hit that like, man. Um, you'll be seeing me here pretty often this week on covering AMC and trying to create this map here. Currently creating a map, but I want to, I like to see things pan out and play out according to setup. And then obviously we're waiting for some of these catalysts to come out to get a better picture of what can potentially happen, right? Because it's the same thing that happened in 2021 in the June run up. I was trying to create a nice little roadmap here to, some blueprints to see what could end up happening with AMC's price, following the catalysts and stuff. Like, Mudrick was a huge one, and that essentially ended up triggering the little tiny squeeze we had. So the more information we get here, the better it's going to be. Okay, so we are still tracking this little setup here. Price is going up. We're coming up to resistance now. Here's the parallel channel. Resistance, parallel channel. Let's change these real quick to red. Okay. So expecting some kind of resistance around this level very quick. Now, this is a volatility zone. So what that means is on the parallel channel, volatility zone, the price can go up very quickly and then get rejected very quickly as well. If it just, because right now it's entering what is the first level of support on the parallel channel. So depending on that, we can maybe see that 650, if not right around that 620, 25 range before coming down a little bit. See how Volt is looking too. Okay, so I've messed with the parameters a little bit. I like the one I'm currently using on Volt. This is a liquidation scanner. Basically, it fights against liquidation, typically in the crypto markets, but this works very well with stocks that have high volatility. And AMC right now seems to like the 1.08, which would be equivalent to like a I think like a 10x liquidation in the crypto markets. Okay, so what basically happens here is that once it triggers a little triangle here, typically the price will come the other way. So it'll get rejected and start climbing back down. And same thing goes for the bottom. So I was just playing around with this too with Doge a little bit earlier. Doge was doing the same thing. So you can see we have the Volt indicator here. Multiplier for Volt is 1.01 because Doge uses 100x leverage, which is insane. It's crazy, but that's why it works. Is because they're trying to liquidate everybody that goes in on isolated margin. They will liquidate these guys on that. You can see how accurate this is, right? We're on the 1 minute. That's what I use it. And watch this, right? Basically, every time it triggers this, so it's saying short, boom, goes 3%. Okay, right here, 2%. And this is supposed to be used, I use this a lot for like day trading and stuff, but it's supposed to be used as a in and out very quickly, not something I would hold long term, but it's pretty accurate at spotting these little reversals because all it's doing is it's tracking the liquidity levels here and liquidating people very quickly. So somebody who's like holding a position here would have been liquidated like right away, right? So that's basically what this is. I'm using it for AMC here. In the market, it works a little bit differently, but it's pretty good. Now, we just got rejected off of resistance here, guys. Here's the ghost little pattern we are tracking right now. You can see it's about to start. Either we're going to start climbing back up here, come up to some, maybe the mid-range here on the parallel channel. That's a possibility. And then maybe trade sideways for a bit here before climbing back up around 130. But otherwise, expecting this to hopefully cross and continue to go up. And this is like just my thoughts on the whole like conversion thing, but I don't think that we need a conversion or and like I said, I'm not gonna go too much into like my opinion on anything like that, but I think what will trigger a squeeze at the end of the day is a complete break of what of the algorithm that we know. And I said that eventually this was going to happen, is that the cycle would no longer track. Why I think it's a bullish thing is because once the cycle breaks, the algorithm is no longer in control. So now it doesn't mean that new cycles can't form. There are new cycles that form, and this all it all comes down to the market structure in the end and how they're moving these stocks over and over. But there is typically a period where a cycle tends to end, and then at that point it starts tracking something else. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about here when it comes to breaking the cycle. When I talk about breaking the cycle, I mean like the volume, it just exceeds what the margin requirements are for these hedge funds and institutions that are controlling the price with their algorithm. Once that breaks, this thing is just gonna keep going, right? And that's what we saw happen in January of 2021. But then they were able to control it back by removing the buy button. So there's always going to be the way these guys are able to come back into the cycle world. And when we have these little spikes happen, kind of like today, right? We have a little spike, it comes back into the world. They come out with some crappy catalyst that brings the price down. In this case, we had the Adam Aaron tweet letter thing. So, unfortunately, that is what brought the price down. But now we're heading back up, and hopefully in the mid to long term, that is bullish, so that AMC can continue to climb. But it's not necessary that we get a conversion from ape back into AMC in a way that is diluting the stock. And sometimes when you dilute a stock like that, it makes it a little bit harder for things to just start pumping quickly. So I again, I didn't want to get too much into my opinion, but in a way that does kind of looking at just the fundamental parts of like how shares work in the market, and when things are diluted, it makes it a little bit harder to pump. Now, if there is something underlining as far as the shorts go with that whole thing, which a lot of the times will be speculation, then it's a different case because, well, AMC at that point, if this triggers some kind of response in the algorithm where the shorts start covering because of the conversion, well, then that's a different case. But that most of that is just speculation right now and is not something that I would rely on for AMC to climb back up. So I did like initially this catalyst here that came out, the first one, because that makes it so that AMC without being diluted, right now, at least having the conversion take place. Now, if AMC did like an offering without having Ape come back into the equation, which again could be a bullish, maybe not, then in a way, just looking back at that, I would feel like that would be maybe a better case for AMC to climb maybe a little bit quicker without having the extra shares in, the Ape share specifically, not having like some kind of offering, but the Ape share specifically, making it a little bit harder for things to pump. But we will see with whether something goes through with what what Adam Marin had talked about. If it goes through and the courts respond, we go from there. Look at that, guys. Following this ghost feed here to a T. So right now it seems like it's starting up, or wants to create some kind of downtrend based on the level it just hit, the 623. Very quickly got rejected, and then now we're probably going to be doing like an inverse stare to where it comes back down to the 580 level. And then from there, you're going to see some kind of either reversal like that. That's probably a possibility, something like this. Or the price comes down to 550 and then trade sideways there for a bit. I actually think that is a more likely scenario here, is that it just maybe something like this. I'm going to modify this just a slight bit because now we have I don't know. It could just start climbing here without coming down to resistance. Okay, so let's talk about this pattern right here. All right, so when I see a pattern, try and dissect it. All right, this little guy right here. All right, so now that we know that this, and I'll talk about this pattern here for a little bit, just so we can see what we can expect here next. Because there's multiple versions of this pattern. This is actually a bullish pattern. I'm gonna show you guys where you can find this. I'm gonna do XRP. I always do perpetual to look at the price, because a lot of the times it has more volume and you can see more candles. Okay, so there's a lot of versions of this pattern, but I'm gonna see if I can find one that kind of goes with our thesis here. So I'll show you guys two. I'm gonna show you a bearish one and a bullish one. Okay. Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, yo. What do we have here? Look at that, guys. Even on the same sequence, we have the pattern right here. Right here. Guys, this is the pattern I'm talking about. Look at this. Okay. You see how it does this? Climbs up. You have one hoop. You have two hoops. Three hoops. POI. POI, all it means, volatility zone. It can, most of the time it goes up. This one came down. So it's something to watch out for. But look, it's crazy to me that not only do we have a similar structure of a pattern, this one is more inclined, so it's not as flat, which is good. But you also have to look at the entire chart. And the entire chart here for XRP, it kind of looks similar to AMC for what it's doing. Remember when it pumped like 100%? Yeah, it pumped 100%. What the hell? Bro, what the hell? Bro, what the hell, bro? Okay, so what the hell, bro? Yo. What is this? Man. No, take away that. Okay, here's another example of this though. I talked about the same thing where it pumps dumps and then it goes back very close to the high before it comes back down. Right? XRP kind of did this already. And it's not this is not a coincidence either. There is a correlation between XRP and AMC as well, because there's a correlation with Ethereum Classic and XRP that we've seen before. One of the patterns we're currently tracking is an XRP pattern. So this is not a coincidence. Okay, now this is probably a lot bigger. Oh. All right, hold up. Let's talk about this pattern again. Just this pattern, because I think it's just extended. It's a little bit bigger. But do you guys see this right here? Look at that. Boom. See, this is what I'm talking about. See how it comes down? Look. Dude, it's literally a match. This same pattern here is a match So this is what's interesting about this. I think it's just a bigger version of it in this sequence because you can see like crypto trades 24/7. AMC does not. So this is going to be a bigger pattern regardless. You're going to have parts of the pattern are going to be larger, parts of them are going to be smaller, as we've seen already with the beginning part here. You can see the structure is the same, right? So this thing pops 100%. It comes down just like AMC. It came down. Then it comes back up, trades sideways, falls, and then where are we right now? We're right here. But again, this is a bigger version of this pattern. So for those that are new, this is what I do a lot in the market. I look at pattern structure. That's why this video is called pattern analysis, because it goes with cycle analysis, but with pattern analysis, we look at more, we just correlate two different stocks that have similar correlation and try and find what the next potential move is for that stock. So in this case, we're looking at AMC. Like I said, this is a bigger version of this pattern right here. It's right around this range. It starts falling down a little bit. And then let's see what happens right after that. So right after this, it goes back up again, and it goes up to the same to the levels I talked about. So let's pull that up. I think this is a really nice pattern to track right now. Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay. Right here. See, it falls down. Kind of comes back to create a new support. To create new support, let's see how much, what the degrees are. Degrees are great. If you're not using a pattern, I always use angles. So this one right here comes back down to about a 10% angle. 10% angle. A 10 degree angle. Okay, which in this case, a 10-degree angle would be right around here. Here to here. Guys, angles are huge. Okay, angles are huge. Let's see. See how it's tracking. See? We're coming back down. Fake out. Now, if this is an inverse POI, you will literally get the opposite. Like this thing starts climbing back up. So there's two ways to track this. I always pay attention to both sides because, yes, that's literally how this works. If it starts going back up, then you know the sequence here is now tracking something else. Typically, because the percentages are so similar, and the way it has already developed and fell the same way that XRP is showing here, typically it does end up following the entire thing through. But it's possible that because AMC fell very quickly, even compared to XRP fell quickly, but it's still a lot. It's more extended, being that it is a cryptocurrency. Sometimes in the market, you tend to see these reverse a little bit quicker as well. So we'll see what happens here. But overall, based on this setup, we're still looking for some upside, which is great. And I like it. I like this setup. So let's take this whole pattern, bring it over here. Oh man, this is going to be just huge. Takes, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would take some time, dude. Actually, not really, dude. Not really, though. 6, next? 28th. 28th, this is basically calling for a retest back at 770, comes down, and then going into August, this thing continues to go up. Yeah, I think this is very likely. I think this is very, very likely. Not financial advice. You know where this happened before, too? With GME. This happened with GME. Way back in the day. Back in the day, bro. Back in the day, right here. It was a lot smaller. A lot smaller. Levels check out. Levels check out. We have XRP. We have GME. Let's take away these for a sec. XRP, GME. Also calling for the right around that 650. We're using the moving average here, but the levels check out. The levels check out. 775, 750. Trade sideways for a little bit and then starts coming back up again. But I like XRPs a little bit better. I do like XRPs better. All right, let's see how this pattern is developing. Okay, so something to note. All right, take a look at this. Watch. 2 and 2, both of them. We have an arc. Arc. We have a right there. Price descends. Descends. What the hell? We have ascending price. Ascending price. To this point, we're going to extend this like that. And then right here is where it's just descending again for a little bit. Well, typically, I wouldn't display it like this. I would say it looks a little bit more symmetrical to the cup or low hoop back here, which it does. Create another low hoop. Now here is where the POI lies in the end. The POI, again, is just a volatility zone. I would call this, we're already starting to see some volatility here, but essentially what happens here is the price either goes up or down very quickly. And we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. But this isn't always the case. The pattern can develop into something else. But a lot of the times, this is how I track some of the POIs in the market, especially the macro POIs, are using pattern structure, understanding how patterns develop in the current market conditions, what the algorithm is playing at right now. Also, once we take this into account with the intraday chart, which right now we are tracking some support levels. This is the 10-degree level we're tracking right now. And these are both the parallel channels. So support's right here. It came back into support, bounced right back up. Let's see what the ghost feed. Look at the ghost feed right here too. So I had the ghost feed coming in to the same support level. This came out a lot earlier. It hit it, came back up, came back down here. This is a bullish setup for this POI here. So if it's bullish, it would do something like this, and it would just continue to climb back up, right? If it's bearish, you're going to see something like this down here. Do this and do a bearish one real quick. Basically, it would just come down here very quickly, and it would hit this 10-degree channel before it climbs back up. So bearish and bullish. Where are we at? Bullish. Here we go. All right, we're coming very close to it here, guys. And it is 5 minutes till 1 p.m. Central. Another reason to track this volatility zone here, because we're getting very close to the next trading hour. So I always track the last 10 minutes or the first 10 minutes of any hour, because that a lot of the times we do tend to see some kind of volatility on those intervals, within those intervals. Okay, so price is coming down a little bit. Nothing too crazy yet. But as soon as we get that here now, let's draw a little volatility box. I didn't do that. Here's the volatility box. It comes down. Let's make that red. No, we're going to make this like a purple, because it's a volatility zone. Clone low volatility zone here. Okay, so and then after this, guys, here, let's see what happens. But after this, from what I got from this specific fractal that we're tracking right now. What I have from this is that it eventually ends up coming down. Now, we do have to look at the after-hour session as a potential. Where's 3 o'clock? Where's my line at? Here we go. So this is what we got to work with here for what the algorithm is going to do right after this, right? Things are going to be, they don't have to be one-to-one. Again, some of these have little gaps, but the overall structure is the same for both of them. You can see right here we have, dude, I can never find my thing. Right, we have an uptrend, so parallel channel uptrend, volatility zone, you can call it. We have 2 arcs on the way down. These are typically symmetrical over here. Typically, not always. This one right here, equivalent to this one. And this one right here is basically equivalent to this one. And then at this point, we have our volatility zone, so either the price goes up or down quickly. Not always the case again, but I like this pattern, and it's basically telling me that at this point here, this is a potential reversal zone, which right now we're tracking to be a 10-degree angle support channel. I'm going to make this green. I call this support, baby. With 1P. There we go. Support, potential support. If not, if this is a positive POI, then price will start climbing up here, and then this is no longer support, and we're tracking a different level. So support will be right here instead. There's 2 levels of support technically. 10-degree angle would be way down here though. Hey, I don't know if it would come all the way down here. I don't think so. Okay, hoop here also came up, faked out, and then climbed back down. So watching for that here just in case. Just in case. A little volatility zone right here. Here's ghost feed 1, and ghost feed number 2 is down here. This is the bullish one, which right now is following a little bit better. I like that. Okay, so initially, guys, I had talked about this pattern here was, this is a bullish pattern normally. The one that we have down here is just one of the ones that we're tracking with the XRP overall pattern, which looks extremely similar to AMC right now. So we're tracking this one, but I also want to show you guys a bullish one, because bullish ones will also tell us what the future price action will look like. We got to use as much as we can here. What cryptocurrency are we going to use for this? Okay, I'm going to use mask for this one. See if we can find it. Guys, these patterns will happen on every interval. On every, like, dude, they will happen everywhere. So it doesn't, like, as long as you find it. Oh, okay. This is a good example, I think. I don't know if you guys could see that, but I'll show you guys a positive one. And this one's pretty good for it, I think. Here's the hoop. Descending. Oh, let's take away these away. They're in the way. Get out. I think this one looks a lot more like AMC right now. And then here's your POI in the end. Boom. Okay, so we don't have one yet on AMC because this can also be extended the same way. See how this one's a lot bigger? It's a lot larger. Same thing with AMC. It could be a lot larger. Could look like that. These typically will, it's they're pretty individual to the stock or crypto that you're tracking. I mean, as long as the time frame or the time window is similar on the fractal and the stock you're tracking, it will normally play out within a few minutes. In this case, the minute chart, within a few minutes of the POI. But right now we are tracking this right here, this little guy. Point volatility. Now, it doesn't have to be extreme volatility, right? This is SNX is a pretty high volatility crypto, so this one you can see the price goes up very quickly. AMC right now has extreme volatility, but you can see with XRP had the same thing, and it only went down a little bit. So it can go down a little bit, it can go down a lot, it can go up a little bit, or it can go up a lot, right? XLM is a good one too, man. Okay, very similar to XRP. Will be very similar to XRP. Let's try overlaying this on Amy here. This one. So you can see this one takes a lot longer when overlaid on AMC's chart versus XRP's. This one kind of trades sideways along this zone. So it's like a lot bigger. And then the POI doesn't hit till way back here. Just checks out about 2 p.m. Power hour, man. That would be pretty insane. I think it's tracking this one a lot better than XRP. A lot better. we do. Let's see. With XRP, so yeah, let's come back to this here. I'll show you guys the macro tracking right now on Ethereum Classic and XRP. Yeah, we can do that. So XRP now, even though like the correlation between them is not, XRP and AMC is not the same like at all. Uh, show you guys what I'm talking about. So they don't have a 1-to-1, like with, if you use a correlation coefficient between AMC and Ethereum Classic, they're going to be very closely related, and we use the all-in-one for this. All-in-one indicator is what we use to find the correlation between them. This one is, right now it has it under XRP, Ethereum Classic 8, but we're going to put AMC in the equation. See, and then we're going to put Ethereum Classic. So you can see right off the bat that the levels that we track, they correlate more with red and blue than they do with red and green. Red and green is XRP. So, but XRP though, if we come and we do a 13-day comparison here, so back here in April 2021, we had XRP do something similar. So XRP went first, then right after that, Ethereum Classic went. And that was initially what kicked things off, but we didn't have a major run-up on XRP like we did compared to Ethereum Classic. So here they were tracking about a month behind, but XRP did go first. So XRP went first, then Ethereum Classic, then AMC. In this case, we have XRP going first, than AMC. So that's why, like, you know, I was talking about the potential shift in cycles that happened back here in December. It's possible that now AMC is tracking ahead, and then Ethereum Classic might be doing something right after that, just because of this move that we're experiencing here today. So that is where we're at right now with the tracking, specifically with the two. It seems to me like because of the cycle shift, AMC would be ahead of the game because we don't have a 100% move on Ethereum Classic right now. Even though both patterns did look similar in the way they were tracking, we did have a POI coming up on the pattern that we were tracking. It could be that AMC is just ahead in terms of a percentage, like it's ahead in it's got a little bit more juice on the runs, right? Maybe Ethereum Classic is a little bit ahead as far as the the structure of the pattern. Like it still goes up on some of the POIs, but maybe not to the same extent as AMC. Okay, so we're still tracking the, what was his pattern? It was mask that we're tracking here. It looks very similar to this one up here, but so calling for some upside around 2 o'clock. Kyle, appreciate that, man. Thank you, mate. Yeah, let's do a little bit of analysis here on XRP and XLM. So initially, and for those that just came into the chat, we're tracking right now a similar structure and pattern compared to XRP. So you guys can see the structure right now on AMC, and XRP looks very similar, except this part of the pattern that we're currently tracking right now is larger, so it's extended, and that is because in crypto, since crypto trades 24/7, a lot of these patterns are just larger. They're bigger, and the algorithm tends to take breaks. Really, it can't just be, it can't be having volatility all over the place every single minute of the day. So you're going to have periods where it just trades sideways. And these little gaps, unfortunately, make it a little bit harder to track some of the patterns in the market. But that is why we were tracking this one right here. Okay. So yeah, XLM, same thing. XLM basically tracks XRP. It went up 100 and something percent about a week ago with XRP. And right now, okay, so I'm already seeing some similarities here between, with AMC as well. So we can track AMC with this specific, with the chart right now. I think XLM has potential in the long term, but I think because it's pumped so much, it came up, it basically filled what is this like hovering gap. I call it a little hovering gap because, I mean, it's just a hanging wick. Price tends to come back up and get rejected. If it doesn't get rejected, you do get a nice little push, but we're starting to see the price come down. And this looks very similar to AMC. I'm going to tell you where you can find this pattern, but we're currently tracking it here in November 2020. And it's right here. Okay, so this is nice. This is real nice because watch this. Remember how we talked about that AMC is currently showing similarities between what's going on in November? I said that I personally think it's in November because a lot of what the market is doing right now is showing similarities to that specific time frame. So this means that a lot of different cryptos and stocks are going to be showing and playing out similar patterns to what happened back then. And let me look at this one here. We can look at it the same way. We can, just like we're looking at the analysis right now intraday on AMC, you can do the same thing with other stocks in the market, other cryptos in the market. And you can see, like, this is almost 1-to-1. Okay, looking at both of these, what do we have? We have a POI in the beginning, and then this creates a massive cup that gets rejected. So you don't even have a handle on this. This thing just creates a massive cup and then starts to descend and then eventually breaks the highs that it had previously. But the cool thing about this, and I've tracked this many times with other stocks and then even options in the market. Like I love to look at the option chart because a lot of these track premiums. Like just like we track premium charts in the market. Look at how closely related these two are together, right? So essentially what we can experience here next, I would consider this to be a volatility zone, meaning that you do have to potentially track upside as well, because there are versions of this pattern that end up coming up here. So it seems like maybe right around July 26th, 27th, we might be able to see some kind of volatility here on XLM, and then potentially XRP as well. But yeah, look at this, man. This is real nice. And then essentially, if this follows 1-to-1, we would consider a major volatility zone around the August time. Now, these patterns and the structure of these patterns, when you get to the POI, you don't want to track it 1-to-1. Like this is not saying that the price is going to go to 70 or anything like that, because all this is tracking, all the algorithm is telling us is that there is a potential possibility that we experience major volatility around the zone. But if it was me tracking the levels, I've already done this too on XLM, but if it was me tracking these levels, it would be a little bit over that $21 range. And I mean, you just have to zoom out of the chart here at this point, but that is major resistance right around here. That would be the first step here. So track some kind of resistance. Now, if the chart blows through this and keeps going, well, then we could see some other levels, right? But you do have to see the historical chart here on XLM, and you don't really see anything like this playing out in a matter of days, right? Where the price goes from 10 cents all the way up to 66. This would require a major catalyst here with XRP as well, because this runs with XRP. So it would require a major catalyst for that to play out. So in my opinion, I think this is possible. I think what can happen is the price either goes up on this POI here, and we create what is a an M-shaped structure here, because we're starting to see some gaps as well. When you see gaps, you do want to pay attention to both sides. But if we start to go up here and we create what is this, and the price starts to go like this, this is very bullish, because we have on the Discord, I have a section, and I'm putting it on the website soon, but it shows 6 patterns that I track in the markets that have points of interest just like this. And each one of them has the bullish and the bearish side. And in this case, we have what this is called an M inclined pattern. So basically it has 2 so it builds your M, you have your POI, and then it has the price coming up to that level of resistance twice, but you do have to look at whether the channel is descending or ascending. If it's descending and it looks like this, a lot of the times that's bearish. If this one holds and climbs back up around that same time, this would indicate that the price would continue to climb back up, and this would be very bullish for XLM. So I would watch out for that. I would just pay attention to this range in time, because just based on the structure of this, it looks to me like somewhere around the 26th or 27th, XRP and XLM might have some volatility. So I hope that helped, man. Unplugged. So why am I comparing? Why am I comparing crypto chart XLM with AMC? Well, because the entire crypto markets we know, and here we've looked at Ethereum Classic is one of the it has one of the highest correlations with AMC as far as percentage goes. Up to most recently here, we started to see a separation between the two, but for the longest time we tracked Ethereum Classic, which also meant tracking patterns in the market. And that's what I do in this channel. It's something I take a different approach really in the way the markets function. But we look at, patterns is one of the most important things that we look at. And then the cycle part of it just takes a look at historical patterns, and then how we try and narrow down where we are in the cycle based on those patterns. So like I just showed you here with XLM, we're showing a lot of correlation with November of 2020. A lot of different patterns in the market right now look very similar to that time frame, including AMC. And that's why I believe we are there in the cycle. If you forward back this video to the beginning, I talk about why I believe we're around there, why I believe the market right now is around that same time frame here. The markets are also like squeezing right now. So if you go back to what happened in November of 2020, including in the markets, you can see the markets are basically pumping like crazy. Watch. We go on SPY. What happens right here? November, the markets are basically just gave up this massive COVID fake out we had, right? So things just dump, everything comes all the way back up, and then everything starts to squeeze right here when the markets are trending up. What's happening right now? It's a lot bigger, just like we talked about here, that it's like a bigger version of November. But the markets are pumping right now, and they're not stopping. They just keep going up. So this is just, again, this is giving us more and more information on what we need to know here on what the markets are going to do next. But if this keeps pumping and doesn't stop, there might be little breaks in between. That's likely. But as long as the overall direction of SPY here is bullish, this is setting up the markets to continue to squeeze. And that means like AMC, that means other stocks in the market as well, not just AMC. But that's looking great. Look at this, guys. Right now, we are still following what is this reference pattern. This is why I track them. Also, dude, this right here, okay, mask USD crypto. Again, we're overlaying it right now on top of AMC's chart, and you can see the levels and the overall structure of it is the same. So up to this point, all we're going to be tracking for is some kind of volatility. That is what I'm expecting. Does not need to happen, does not always happen, but it's just a good way to narrow down the possibilities here. Now, once we have the pattern, we look at everything else. So we look at levels of resistance, levels of support, and this is how I trade, man. This is how I trade. Let's take away this one down here for a sec. I think there's a better way to do this. In there. There we go. There we go. We still have about an hour and a half left here. We're on the 30-minute mark. And right now, man, I really like this here. So Here's support, intraday support. And here's resistance. Guys, we're just riding down on resistance. Actually, this one ended up following the first ghost feed we had that I kind of messed around with a little bit, but it was basically just coming down here, riding sideways, and then up to this point here at 2 o'clock, we would start climbing up. So I do like this a lot. I like this setup. Plugged. Welcome to the channel, man. Welcome to the channel. MCK 3. Any predictions for after hours pre-market tomorrow? So one of the things I mentioned too, and then just also looking at the XRP pattern that we're tracking right now. So a couple of things to track, but going into the after hour session, I mean, just look at how much volume we have right now. It's just ridiculous. This is a lot of volume. So normally when you have a fake out like this, and then you have the price coming back, gravitating back up, we looked at 3 different patterns. So all patterns ended up coming up at some point in the near term and hit or came very close to micro resistance, which at this point is at 850. I think it's very likely that the price in the next few days is going to come back up to at least that 750 range. I think this is the most likely scenario, is that it comes back up. Basically, like this is it's just an emotion game here at this point. But what they're trying to do is they're pumping, dumping, and then making everybody sell right away. That's why we came very close to levels that we saw on the 21st. After that, what they do is they rally the stock up again, come back up to highs, and then trade sideways there for a bit before it starts coming back down. So I think maybe going into Wednesday or Thursday, I think the 750 is very doable. Things have to hold here, though. The only way this is going to happen, in my opinion, is if we do not cross the $5 range. If we come back down to $5, then that thesis changes for me, and I would see at least AMC trading around that range here for a few days before it starts climbing back up. But I think going into tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's very possible that the price does head back up there. To come and retest resistance levels. All right, so let's take a look at this section here. Okay, we're gonna take away this here. You guys can see this section here a little bit better. We're going to split it up a little bit differently so we can understand what's happening here. So this is basically an S-curve is what's happening. S-curve comes up, back down, and then here, man, this looks just way too similar. But what's happening here is, so we have one more, a very quick, almost descending parallel channel. Clone the same thing right here, guys. Almost 1-to-1. And then we have another S-curve. This S-curve is inverse this time. So now it comes up. and then this one. So it's like 2 almost. 1. They're not actually. It's not an S curve. It's like almost like an inverse cup in a way. This one does the same thing. Double top setup maybe. Still in a parallel channel is what it does. Clone, clone, right here, and then we come to our POI. POI is right here. Happens to line up with the 2 o'clock time frame. I'd say maybe somewhere like that. Okay, let's call this a volatility zone. There we go. Nice. Look at that. How high do I think AMC will go relative to AMC? Like, do you have a ratio? So right now, without there being a conversion, and let's just assume that there is no conversion first before I make that scenario. So if they don't merge back together, I would see Ape just dumping. Just because at that point, if there's no, if as we saw just previously here, this was basically news saying that that wasn't going to happen, right? Now, because the case isn't closed, that's not a confirmation yet, especially after what Adam Aaron just said. So that's taking into account them not coming back together. I would see AMC pumping and Ape just either stays neutral or essentially just goes down to new lows, right? If they were to merge back together, and now you have one as whole, I think at that point it does change this a little bit. Because we're just gonna be trading one ticker instead of two, and then I mean coming into that, I think it would take maybe a little bit longer for the run to happen. As I've said before, based on the timeline right now and the way the catalysts are lined up, if you were here in the beginning of the video, I talk about that timeline based on what the catalysts were back in November 2020. And basically, it's the same thing. It just takes a little bit longer to develop. In the short term, I believe the price would go down. I don't think that's a bullish thing. So in the short term, I think it would go down. But eventually, once everything got back together and things were back as one, it would make the price go up eventually, regardless. I still think that is going to be a bullish thing in the long term. Something more bullish in the short term would be that Ape does not come back into the equation and AMC just starts to rally right away. But that's why we're waiting for this catalyst to pan out. So that is what I got, man. That is what I got for that. MCK, do I still believe in MOAS? Yeah, I mean, I believe that AMC has the potential. If any stock in the market has the potential to squeeze, Okay, my picks is going to be AMC because I know like for a squeeze play to be at play, okay, it does require a lot of momentum, a lot of volume, and a lot of loyal people that are in on the stock. Like that's not to say that you know I'm not enforcing anything or telling anybody to do anything with that, but I see what the momentum that AMC still has and the people that are still talking about it. I mean, I'm involved in the community, so I know how this thing runs in that. And you can't just compare this stock to another stock like I don't know, say Nikola or something where it just doesn't have the same movement behind it. So if there's a squeeze play, it's for me it's AMC. Now that a lot needs to happen for that to be a thing, for that to pan out and play out. And I always talk about that these institutions, these larger institutions that control the price through the algorithm, have a threshold in the market. So under what we know right now and what we've experienced before with the buy button removal or any kind of catalyst that brings the price down, that is a major factor in the way AMC's price moves. Okay, AMC pumps here on bullish news, and then the letter comes out, and then everything starts to dump, right? So it's under the right conditions on the macro chart as well, if the chart is trending up. And we'll come back to this, guys, real quick. Let's go on AMC so I can talk about this. But under the right conditions, as long as the trajectory is pointing up, which we're starting to see now, go on the monthly chart and what is happening, right? We're starting to see a nice green candle on AMI here, okay? So as long as this holds and keeps climbing up, there's no reason why the price should come back down. I mean, we've been on a downtrend for quite some time. I talked about the correlation with this and Tilray and Mara. I'll pull it up here again. On the monthly, you guys might be able to see this a little bit better. Okay, so we have AMC, we have Tilray, and we have Mara. Okay, now this is what I was talking about earlier, right? At some point following the high, coming up to it, this is going to be about 762 days from June, from the high, right? If we look at Tilray back in September, we have something similar. Right now we're in a phase where we're expecting some kind of like a very small pump and dump in the sense that, well, things don't just pump right away. You got to stair your way up, and that's I think what we're experiencing now, which is very similar to what happened with Tilray back here. You can see it's a green candle. Okay, 790 days. Okay, 26 bars. If you count it from the bottom, though, it's the same. Okay, 25 bars right there. It starts climbing back down, and then what happens? The price starts to go back up. Same thing right here. Okay, Mara, November or December of 2017, it starts to climb back down. And then about 25 bars later, okay, we're in this mid-zone phase. Still same thing. Now, the sequence here is a little bit different, but the overall setup here still ends up coming up and creating new highs. So if we want to see new highs, it's going to require a large catalyst. It's going to require a lot of volume. So it just means that I remember when Mara came up the way it did, but Mara being one of the bigger crypto mining companies, along with Riot, it makes sense that it did what it did, and it makes sense that it was suppressed for so long. Once crypto started pumping, this thing went from pennies to, basically $80. So we can definitely see something similar happen here with AMC as long as the price holds, as long as things are trending up. And I'm a believer in that. Now, I have said this in my levels to track as far as just technicals go. It's very simple here. The technicals, the hedging what we're tracking as far as the quad witching curve. Some of those levels here are going to be right around the 20, 26, 25 range to 30. And that is just AMC. That's not including APE. Okay, you can see it on, see, we still have it right here. This little parallel channel. I always track this because we talked about the hedge, how these guys hedge for leaps. And you can see there's a trend here. Price tends to gravitate back into the blue trend every single year. In this case, we have about a 2-year gap, which is very similar to what happened back here. We spent 240 days outside, and we came back into the channel. Same thing right here. We have about 260, and now we're trying to gravitate back into the channel. And this is why on the last video I had talked about that we're basically doing a larger version of this cycle right here. It's the way bigger version of it. So yeah, if you want to know a little bit more about that, though, click on the last video I posted. It talks about some of the levels and stuff based on this. Okay, let's see what's going on right here. Okay, we're almost at that 2 o'clock time here. One thing to note is that when the price descends on this pattern that we're tracking, it comes back down to support before it climbs back up. We don't have that happening right here yet. So in this one might look a little bit like this, and comes back down to support here before it starts climbing up. So we'll see. But that is also a possibility. We got support right here. Might be a better way to do it is like this. All right, so for this, going to overlay pattern here again. Okay, POI coming up. All right, guys, we're starting to see some green here. Let's see if this ends up playing out to the upside. That would be ideal. Again, we're not tracking the same levels. No, I'm not tracking the $7 range here. I'm just tracking for volatility. So anything really above the 630 would suffice for that. Okay, and if for some reason this does end up coming down here, we go back to square one, which is the tracking of XRP. Now, the XRP, because we are tracking something that is a lot bigger and it's more extended, right? It looks like this. Okay, we're also tracking the macro pattern on XRP here. Now there's some flaws that this one has compared to the two, right? So this one trades down. It trades sideways for a little bit. Doesn't have as much volatility on the way up here. So it's pretty interesting. Another reason why I don't like this one as much, but it's still something we have to track because, again, with POI zones, it's very important that you consider both sides. We got about 9 minutes left for that 2 o'clock. Let's see what happens, guys. This should be and will be, because this is a crypto pattern. I'm going to move this a little bit here too, because I believe that 2 o'clock is a major, major POI just in general. I mean, you're coming up close here to a lot of expiration, not only on, expiration options here for the indices. And that does tend to play a role here in positions that are over leveraged, especially if they have to liquidate, right? Just think about how many options right now are in the money. And then also how many puts are outside of the money. There was a lot for this expiration date coming up this week, 28th. A lot of puts are in outside of the money. Also, guys, don't forget, man. When we rally on these days, obviously today we had a nice little rally coming up to the catalyst on Friday, but on rally days, you're gonna see me with some nice music up in here, and ABBA. You already know, man. We play it fun in here on these days. Now, whenever it's a little bit more technical, on the technical days, I try and do more analysis so that you guys can see what I'm seeing, right? Just so we can learn a little bit about what the cycle analysis world is about. So this being one of those days, I was expecting something like this. Not that it's a bad thing, but again, going into the next few days, I do see some upside, especially if this holds here and we start to see AMC climb. I do not want to see anything below the current levels that we're at. Like, if we come back into the 480 range, that's not going to be good in the short term. So we need to hold these levels right here. And I'm hoping that this POI here is active, pans out, we start climbing back up to the 640. And I'm going to show you guys a little scenario here based on that. So okay, volume, come on, Amy, let's go. If we start climbing up here, I would see something like this. Actually, something like that. Comes up to 630. We cross, and then we start climbing back up from there. Nana, you already know. Already know. Let's take this out. Alrighty, alright. I like this. Look at this. Alright. 2 green volume. Ooh, okay. Volume coming in. Is the volatility zone active? Are we getting ready to pop? That's the big question. Based on this pattern, it looks good. It's looking good. Hey, Amy's holding great. 2 minutes left here for 2 o'clock. Potential very quick fake out, maybe, where it like comes down to like 580 and then climbs back up. That's a possibility. Or this thing just starts to rip back up, starts climbing back up. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you leave a big ol' thumbs up. All right, big ol' thumbs up and sub. Guys, sub. Hit that notification bell too if you want updates when I go live. When we go live next time, if AMC is on a nice little rally, we pump it up in here. We play that disco music. We bring the elephant back in the chat. Flying elephants. Pretty dope stuff we have in here. It's awesome. Kim, I appreciate that, man. Good to have you in the chat, man. All right, 2 o'clock. And with volatility zones, guys, we do tend to see a lot more volume. So in this case, I'm gonna keep repeating myself because I need to for those that are coming in, but we are not tracking the same levels as the reference pattern up here. We're just tracking a potential volatility zone. Typically with these patterns, whenever you start to see that surge in volume or drop in price, we call that a volatility zone because many times we'll see it the inverse happen or the same push, but most of the time also we don't track the same levels for the volatility zone because that's very individual to the stock or the cryptocurrency that you are tracking. But we are starting to see a continuation here in volume, larger candles developing, a lot of green, so that's good. And that is all we really need here to start to see that volatility kick in. Alrighty. All right, we also have resistance right here. So a cross here at resistance could be the catalyst, right? Catalyst. And not only that, but it is the $6 range again. So we'll see if this continue or get rejected. What's it going to be? Amy? Hassan, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Patel, appreciate that, man. Thank you. All for you guys. All for you guys. The patterns, man. Patterns in the market are just crazy, crazy to me. Yeah, I do plan on having a little, maybe some kind of PDF or book or something, maybe that I can make here to showcase a little bit more of like the patterns, the pattern structures and stuff that we take a look at here in the markets. Pretty fun stuff. Amar, what is up, dude? Okay, so with volatility zones, also, guys, I do because we are on the minute chart. There is a little bit of time you got to give it for them to start playing out, and you always have to remember that this is not something that is guaranteed every single time, right? This is something that happens over and over again, as we've seen with the other pattern XRP that we were tracking. There's multiple versions of this pattern, and this is just one of them that we're tracking right now. And like I said, most of the time you will see upside or downside towards the end of that of this little range that we're tracking here, right? These two hoops. So for me, I'm going to give it a little bit of time here, potentially the next 10 minutes. And based on this right now, from what I'm seeing, it looks... I'm going to say it's a little bit harder to tell here what the price is going to do based on this, but one thing to test most with this that helps a lot is going to be a cross at resistance, like a clear cross, and then paying attention to volume. Volume is key. Whenever you see a POI hit, you will see a pretty massive candle, and then that candle is basically the trigger for the direction. So that first initial candle is very important. The first and the second, right? Because if the second is followed by a red candle, so if it's green and then red, that's typically just a liquidity grab. And what that means is that the price is basically trying to liquidate certain positions that are over leveraged. Typically, this applies more to the crypto in the crypto space, but a lot of the times we see that, especially with stocks that have high volatility, like AMC. So this could be that case where it comes up and then gets rejected. But again, with the setup that we're tracking right now, it seems to me like if we get a clear cross here, it is just going to start going back up. And the targets that I'm tracking right now, based on that, will be we have to cross resistance first at 623. So that's step one. And then step two would be to track anything above that 650 range. That would be ideal. Okay, I'm going to go on the intraday chart on this other one here, just without the stuff, just to get a clear picture. Everything else. Ooh, okay. So we also have a descending M. This is one of the other patterns that we track. And this one also has the volatility zone, which we can clearly see on this. And what I like about this one, though, is it is descending. Normally these are bearish. But typically around this point here, you would already start to see things falling back down. So a lot of the times these turn to be bullish as well, and you get something like this. And then it starts going back up, which I like that. I think I like this right here. I think that's what we're going to get. So that version of a pattern we see as well. Let's see if I still have it here. Where we have this playing out right now. I already had it in check here. Well, that's not going to work. Okay, so we're starting to come down. Doesn't mean it's over there, but checking on that. If it gets if it gets canceled, we just need a very green candle right now. A very large green candle is what we need. Oh, wait, that. There we go. That's one way to do it. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about here. I don't know if it's going to be the greatest setup, but on the 5 minute, or at least here, we could see it a little bit better. It kind of comes up to maybe that 620, comes very close to resistance. I think that's going to happen here. Comes very close to resistance like that, and then it starts climbing back up. We just need this to shoot up here. Start shooting up, Amy. Come on. Lego. Do I think indicators like RSI, Cipher would also line up or match patterns like, right? Yes, definitely. Yes, 1,000%. One of the ones that I use the most here to do that is the ROC indicator. Rate of change is really good at spotting similarities between cycles in the market. I use that one all the time, and I use it. I have my own version of it. It's called All in One, and what that does is it takes a bunch of cryptocurrencies or a bunch of stocks, and not only does it give me the moving average of all of them combined, but it gives me them individually and tells me which ones are oversold, which ones are overbought, and then that way I can kind of narrow down where we are in the cycle. And I do this all the time, and one of the reasons why I believe we're in November right now is because of that. So yes, I do believe that. Highly recommend if you guys like using indicators and stuff, go check one out. It's called ROC. Just any ROC indicator is going to help with that. Like I said, I have my own version of it. I have a bunch of indicators that I use. If you want access to them, just click the link below. It'll take you straight there. Right now we have about 5. And they're all geared towards like the cycle approach that I take here. So they're all cycle indicators. Okay, so this part of the sequence, the volatility zone, you can see is a lot quicker on the reference pattern that we're looking at on top. So in this case, there's still a volatility zone pending right now on the AMC chart. We still don't have it. It's coming very close to resistance, and it like wants to cross. Right now, this is also developing a arc type of pattern, which means we have 3 arcs like this, and normally this one we also tend to see some kind of breakout towards the end of it. So it like wants to do it already. Volume is already kicking in here, so hopefully we get the break and we get a continuation to the levels we have targeting right now. 630 and 650. Uh-oh. What's going on? Look at that. We're just like, bro, we're just riding resistance right now. Have not broken it yet. We're just riding. Let's see what the market is doing right now. Okay, yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're definitely not really following the market here. It is the market looks like also is in some kind of breather phase here. Might be creating a little wedge or something. It's coming back up though. Are we gonna follow the market or what? We follow the market, maybe we get our breakout. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna just so I can show you guys the correlation that we're tracking right now with the other patterns. But one of the patterns that we're tracking right now is XRP, which is, where is it? Here it is. So the reason why we're tracking XRP is because, well, XRP ran 100%. Not only did it run 100%, but it also fell the same way. If we track the levels and not the same, so the little sections here that we're seeing, okay, they look very similar, but they're not one-to-one. So all we're doing is we're tracking the levels. The levels are important. Eventually, XRP does make its way back up and climbs to what would be equivalent to the 775 range, right around there is where it climbs back into, and then it starts kind of heading back down. But we don't know what XRP is going to do here next. So up to that point, though, I think it's pretty relevant, and it's a good match for me. So I'm personally going to be using this as a potential candidate to AMC's price action in the next few days. As we've already seen here, you know, why I think things are extended is because, well, if we line these up, or the first two, at least you can see there's a major gap right here. But the cool thing is that we're tracking a version of what is this pattern right here. You can see there's a volatility zone. And in stock market hours, trading hours, they're going to be a lot smaller than crypto because it trades 24/7. So here is that pattern. Okay, here's the version of that pattern. And you can see right here, we have the same thing. So I had it down here. Let's see if we still have it. Match. Pull all these up for you. Now, the only difference between this one, look at that. This was the ghost feed we were tracking earlier. That looks pretty accurate, yeah. Here, a couple of other ones. So this is what we got. I got to move it a little bit. This is one version of it, and this one, though, is an inverse. POI. You can see the price comes down instead of it coming back up. Everything else, though, is basically the same. Oop, descending price. Really kind of descends for a little bit longer. So this one is not the best version of it. That's why I was tracking the one on top. But we tracked this for a little bit. And then up at this point here, we're just riding resistance, so we haven't broken that level yet. And once we break it, though, I believe that is the part of it, or at least that is where the algorithm should start to send either the price up or down quickly based on both of these. But again, we're just tracking. This sequence here is telling us that we're in that part of the cycle, and it's just a bigger version of that cycle. Why the patterns look the same. Okay, so based on this, though, it looks like this might be the second little hoop. It's like they're bigger. One here. You know what else did this, bro? You know what else did this? All right, let's find another one. Dude, I'm just like the goal here is to find as many as we can, but one I was just thinking about was Luna. Luna had also done this, and it's one of the ones I used for XRP. Like when XRP pumped, I immediately came back and tracked this pattern here because man, it was showing like too much correlation here. It had pumped almost the same way, and some of the POIs we tracked were inverse, like up to this point here. But I don't know. No, I don't think so. Wait, no. Yeah, this is good. This is good. To this point here, start and then comes back up. Again, we have here's a similar version of that pattern here as well. You can see that it's also extended. You also have the gap. I don't know if I like this one more than the ones that we currently have, so nah. Doge is pumping too, so we're going to see if Doge has... Interesting. Bro, this is Doge basically intraday. Like from 2, it pumps, trades sideways here. Already starting to see similarities with AMC's chart here. I mean, just looking back here, look at how it dumps. One, two, three, right there. Then on the way up, if we have this structure of a pattern, this is also calling for similar levels that we are tracking right now, which is coming back. See how it comes back to the highs and then gets rejected? Same thing. It's a pump dump, then it comes back all the way up here. I'm telling you guys, this is don't want to make like extreme predictions or anything, but I think that AMC is going to come back to at least the 750 level by the end of the week. Just based on all of these other patterns that we're tracking right now. I'm going to weigh this. Let's take this away for now. I mean, look at that. Lines up the same way. I think from this point, it seems like it's tracking a little bit better. The algorithm almost seems like it could be 1-to-1. If you just take a trend line here, I think both of them are bounced pretty well here from the bottom, saying that this could be a bounce zone here for AMC. So again, not all of these patterns will have and be active on the POI because they end up playing at a later version of the sequence of where you're currently at in the cycle. So this is, yeah, I mean, this is, and a lot of these patterns here are very good for people that like to like day trade and stuff, but I think the overall direction is good and it's accurate. If we zoom out, we're on the minute, right? So if we zoom out on the 15-minute or something, the chart is going to have less flaws as if it, compared to just looking at the minute chart. There's so much volatility. All right. We're on that 30-minute mark. We're on that mark where in Robinhood, they're like, yeah, you can't trade options after 2:30 or 3:30 Eastern. That's a scam. I think that's a scam. Same with Webull. Both of that. Like, that's super crappy. It's like, yeah, let's let them not be able to trade at like 30 minutes before they expire. It's like I think you might be able. I don't trade on those platforms, but I think you might be able to what do you call it? Like you might be able to still close your position, but you can't open a position at that point. So it's just makes you wonder why. And then a lot of the times now in the current markets, because markets are constantly just evolving, you get volatility almost happening after that. You get like most of the volatility happening after those contracts have expired or they are closed by those brokers. Crazy stuff, man. Makes you think. Kim, do I think after our market may move like crazy today, just in your personal opinion? I think that I don't think I think that based on the current chart and what AMC just did today, we closed at. We're probably going to close somewhere about maybe that 40%, maybe a little bit higher, or around the same range. I think anywhere in this little square would be ideal to close at. If give it a little range, right? But even if we come down, I'm not too worried. As long as we don't cross the 490 range, I think we're fine. And based on all the patterns that we tracked, I think it's very likely that AMC is going to come back up to that 750 range by the end of the week. So there could be a couple of days to where AMC just kind of trades sideways, but eventually it should make its way up there. Just because right now the overall markets, they are repeating this same pattern, the same pattern we're seeing over and over again. I pulled up SPSC. Is one of the first stocks to do it. Right here. Now, if we take this, and I didn't even look at this one, but let's go on the minute chart for SPSC and see what. Oh, wow. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, hold up. Yo. Okay, whoa. All right, so this is Virgin Galactic here. 1-to-1, guys. I'm comparing a stock now, not a cryptocurrency. And look at this. So let's take this other example up here away for a sec. I'll probably end up coming back to it. But now that we kind of know what pattern ended, and guys, we tracked this pattern for basically the entire stream here, except the volatility zone is what is right now, seems to be what they're going to wait for. It could potentially happen after hours or even in the trading day tomorrow. But look at this. This is Virgin Galactic down here. See how it pumps and dumps? Same thing. This thing starts climbing all the way back up to the levels that it had previously. So if we use this, and the crazy part too is that this started to pump right after the market closed at 3. Look at this. 305, 310. 310 right here. 310 too. Pump, basically dumps the same way, and then it starts climbing the next, not the next trading date, but the day after that. Yo. Interesting. Wow. So it looks like here. Okay, so this started to climb like almost immediately on. Was this the 15th? Yo, wait a sec. Okay, so this was the 15th is Thursday, Friday, and then Monday. Okay, yeah, we might start to see a continuation. Now, the only thing about this pattern is just like the rest, and why I keep saying this, that it doesn't really matter if AMC comes all the way back up here. The right now the algorithm and the pattern that it's playing out on a lot of these stocks and cryptos, because this algorithm is not just gonna be relevant to AMC, it's gonna be relevant to the entire market, and especially these high volatility stocks, as we've seen time and time again. SPSC, I pulled up Doge, I pulled up XRP, XLM, Luna, like all of these different stocks that have already done this in cryptos and end up coming down after they come up to resistance. So that's not to say AMC can't keep going up, but I'm paying attention to what the entire market is doing because it's relevant. It's relevant. It's what the algorithms have already done and just keep repeating over and over again on these other stocks. So even if it does come down from there, I've already said my projection in the future based on what Adam Aaron said, which in the short term is not bullish. So whatever happens in the court, if they approve something or say the price comes up and then there is a catalyst on like, oh, the court approved this, or like now this is ongoing or whatever, the court is just going to, or the catalysts here that end up playing out are just following right after what the algorithm already has in store for what is this agenda. So waiting for that. But yeah, I like this one too. Basically, everything comes back up in the next few days. I think worst case scenario, it takes a few days to develop. So maybe it does something like this tomorrow, and then it does this, and then maybe by Wednesday it climbs up, something like that. But I think eventually we're going to get back up there. 750 to 8. Look at that. I'll line them all up here for you guys. So we have, here's Virgin Galactic, here's Doge. All of them go up to the same level. Where's XRP? If I can find XRP. Here is GME. This is just crazy, dude. And here is XRP from the bottom right there. So what do these all have in common? If we're looking at a time frame here, what these all have in common is that they have the same resistance and they have the same retest at resistance. It doesn't matter if it did it a few hours before or a few hours after. They're all coming up to resistance. So if we take this into account, if AMC does the same thing, it could trade sideways for 2-3 days and come all the way up here to resistance, whatever. At least it's doing it in this time frame here. I think that's the more likely scenario, is that if we're looking at the correlation here, it seems like maybe somewhere around the middle would be ideal. But again, based on the patterns that I'm looking at and everything that I just pulled up and we looked at, it seems like maybe in the next 1 to 2 days, it could get up there. I think I'm leaning more towards like sometime late Tuesday, maybe going into Wednesday. I think that would be ideal. But all of these guys come up to that same level. So for AMC, let's pull it all up here again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Resistance would be right around 670, 675, and then it trades sideways up there before eventually either coming out down or triggering a ripple effect in the market, which would be a squeeze. And then at that point, you know, this thing can go wherever it wants, right? But if the algorithm holds and is able to suppress this right here, then it's probably going to come down for a little bit before it makes its way back up. And like I said, guys, you know, I've said this again, but with the things that we track for AMC and the volatility zones, whenever there's high volatility, you're going to see me up here more often. I always cover AMC regardless of what's happening, but you see me covering it more when the POIs are active, especially even these micro points of interest volatility zones. You're going to see that because when this is not happening, AMC's price is typically pretty stagnant, doesn't do much. So yes, you'll see me on here a little bit more this week. But other than that, I am still on the Discord, very active on the Discord. So if you guys want to check that out as well, I send other plays and stuff involving crypto, leverage, and then also options. So if you guys want more info on that, use the same approach that I just did today with AMC, and we take a look at other stocks in the market that have that same potential. So check that out in the link below. Okay. All right, so that is probably the setup here. Now we're starting to see a small kind of downtrend here on this, what we call the incline M. This is an M leveled pattern, which means it comes back down, it kind of descends a little bit, and then here we could see a move. Now, because we are very close to the after-hour session, it's likely that things are going to be extended up until that point. And if things trade sideways, like I said, I'm still expecting the $7 to $8 range to be hit sometime in the week. So we'll leave it there. If I have any updates or anything on AMC, I will be posting that on X, right, guys? Not Twitter anymore. It's called X. But yeah, you'll see me post some updates on there, and then obviously on the Discord as well. There's a nice community in there that are all we all talk about the cycle in there and have very similar viewpoints and perspectives that I show on here. So if you guys want to check that out, also click the link below. I'll leave it there, guys. Today, you might see me tomorrow. Righty. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.